What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy CamATL, and welcome back to another video covering this DFS slate for Week 6 in the NFL. It's been a wild season so far, with it being the first COVID season of all time. A little ups and downs, guys being out and all that stuff. You gotta change things up, but hey. It is what it is. The last 2 weekends have been fantastic for the squad. Hit up greenlightdfs.com to join the squad if you want for the weekend, for the lines for the weekend, and then also get access to the NFL optimizer as well. Yeah, welcome back. Make sure you comment down below. As you know, earlier in the week, we do the first look lineup vid where I pretty much just talk about the guys that I put in the first look lineup, kind of go over a gut feel on the initial thoughts of the slate, and then in this video we're going to go position by position and talk about everybody that we have interest in on this slate. Alright, so let's go ahead and not waste much more time. Make sure you comment down below in the comment section who you think is going to be the highest scoring player on DraftKings and their point total to enter your name into a chance to win $100. The first person that put the person's name and their point total correct down in the comment section will get $100 from your boy. So go ahead and make your predictions now. Go ahead, while you're down there, drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Welcome. Thank you for coming. And let's go ahead and get into this. Now, let's start off at quarterback. All right. So we've got multiple options that we can go on this slate. All right. Now, let's first start off with Ryan Tannehill. All right, let's talk about Ryan Tannehill first. All right, Tannehill's going against a Houston team that just gave up almost 24 to Gardner Minshew. All right, the only issue here, Tannehill has been solid all year. They did just play on Thursday, so they're getting a short week because of COVID, changing up their schedule. The other issue here is that Houston is so bad versus the run. And you have to expect Tennessee to kind of know that and exploit that. Derrick Henry, this could be a huge Derrick Henry game. Ryan Tannehill going for 30 against Buffalo in Thursday Night Football, with it being so quick of a turnaround to play again on Sunday. I expect him to lean heavy on the run, so Derrick Henry's kind of the guy I prefer to go with. But Tannehill at home has been consistent this year. He's only 5'9", so I had to talk about him. Another guy that I want to talk about, and that's who the optimizer loves when it comes to point per dollar at 5'9". The optimizer loves him. He's right under Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson. Ryan Fitzpatrick at 5'9". All right, Fitzpatrick gets to go against the Jets, who just gave up over 30 to Kyler Murray. Outside of Murray, though, they've done an okay job versus quarterbacks. I mean, Murray and Allen both went off. Both have what in common? They can use their legs. What has Ryan Fitzpatrick been doing a lot of this year? He's actually been using his legs and doing his thing to keep the chain moving. Now, this is Fitzpatrick's last 4 games. 27, 25, 26, 30. Like, amazing performances. Now, yes, 2 out of those 4 have been against league worst secondaries, Jacksonville and Seattle. Okay? But the 30 against San Francisco is not great either, but he did just drop 30. He's starting to get it going. His consistency is really ramping up. And against this Jets squad, it's just a solid situation. So if everybody's going to go Tannehill, I'm okay with you going to the lower-owned Ryan Fitzpatrick. I do like Fitzpatrick a lot, the way he's been playing lately. Now, or if you're playing GPP and you're down the complete stack, because this is the great game, okay, in the beginning of the week we talked about loving Minnesota. On top of that, on the other side, on the Atlanta side, most likely Julio is going to miss again, so we have the Zacharias, however you say his name, value again at 3-2. It just is a beautiful way to go. Now, if you're okay with going Cousins along with Madison, along with Thielen, then cool. I'm completely fine with that this week. I think that's going to be a fine strategy. I think Madison's pass catching back. He's going to get passes in the pass game as well. So Madison is locked in my opinion. Okay, so he's locked. Outside of him, I love Thielen. I've been locking him a lot too. So those 2 guys are locked. Quarterback, you don't have to go Cousins, but if you want to, I completely understand. Kirk Cousins is in a fantastic spot here against Atlanta, who's been bottom in the league. I mean, they gave up over almost 35 to Russell Wilson week 1. 44 to Dak Prescott, and then Aaron Rodgers and Teddy Bridgewater smashed him. So fantastic situation here for Kirk Cousins at home in Minnesota. He gives you a very, very, very solid floor here in this matchup. All right. Yes, he only got 1 against the Colts week 2. But, I mean, outside of that, 22, 21, 14, 16, solid performances. It does bother me a little bit. He only got 16 against Seattle last week, who is a horrible secondary. But at the end of the day, he's in a solid spot. Green Bay's defense has been playing good defense. He got 22 against them. The Colts, a really solid defense. He did struggle there. Tennessee, an okay defense. So this is the best matchup he's had by far all season. And Kirk Cousins is a very solid option at 6-1. Okay, I really like Cousins as another option. Talking about horrible secondaries, Jacksonville. Matthew Stafford is in a fantastic spot. Now, it would be even better if they were at home in Detroit in a dome. Unfortunately, they're not. They're in Jacksonville, which is not in a dome, so the weather could affect things a little bit. I'm not seeing much of an issue. I haven't looked in a while, though, but Matthew Stafford is a fantastic option. Seems very, very solid and consistent here in this matchup. I do expect him to be lower owned than Cousins, so that's the way you can kind of get to a lower owned version. Maybe pair Stafford up with Kenny Galladay or Marvin Jones or something like that and get a lower owned correlation. But outside of the Cousins and, Tannehills of the world who could possibly be high owned. But yeah, Stafford, this is a Detroit team that doesn't really run the ball a ton. They haven't trusted their run game in 4+ years. They're going against Jacksonville, who, like I said, is the worst secondary in the league. Tannehill got 27. Fitzpatrick then got over 25. Burrow got 19 as a rookie. Deshaun Watson crushed him for 30. It's a fantastic situation here for Matthew Stafford. I think he's going to absolutely dominate here and definitely in a fantastic spot. So, yeah, Matthew Stafford at 6'3" is a guy that I'm definitely encouraged to have some exposure to going against Jacksonville, a horrible secondary. All right. Anybody else? There is a solid gap. I mean, yes, okay, I understand we have the value of Zacharias this week, or however you say his name. So going Lamar Jackson, I can understand it going against Philly. Lamar Jackson, unfortunately, does not have the floor that we're used to getting out of him. Okay, I mean, he does have a floor of about 15, but I mean, last year he had a floor of about 25. This year he's been up and down, kind of like a roller coaster. 27, 17, 15, 26, 14. Lamar Jackson's in a solid spot here against Philly. It is a decent position here. They have not been too good against quarterbacks this year. They really haven't faced a quarterback like Lamar Jackson yet. None of these guys could really use their feet like Lamar can, so it's dangerous for Philly, and Lamar could smash. So out of all the quarterbacks on the slate, I would have to expect Lamar Jackson to be one of the more safest options, but honestly, with the options that we have $2,000 less, like Fitzpatrick, Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, these guys, I mean, I don't see much of a reason to go Lamar, but I can understand it if you decide to go that route. All right, let's go to running backs. Those are my favorite quarterbacks of the slate. Let's talk running backs. Now, first and foremost, I want to go ahead and start it off with Derrick Henry going against Houston. I just mentioned how they just played their game on Thursday, so it's a quick turnaround. So most of the time in the situation like that, you would expect a team to use their running game heavily. Now, it's also pretty encouraging that Derrick Henry only got 19 carries. Normally, he'll get 25 plus, but they only gave him 19 knowing that they have to play again on Sunday, knowing that they're most likely going to be trying to use that run game as much as possible in a very plus matchup for run games against Houston. I mean, this situation is beautiful, all right? Derrick Henry should absolutely destroy them on the ground. And like I said, a quick turnaround game. I would expect the offense to lean a little heavier on the run, kind of let everybody kind of relax a little bit outside of Derrick Henry. But yeah, 19 carries, that's not what he usually gets, so they obviously tapered him down a little bit. Expect him to get about 25 again here. Going against Houston, fantastic situation for him. Obviously, Madison, I don't have to talk about him much. I'll just put him over here. I mean, listen. Not only is this a pass-catching back, he can catch passes very well. He's going against an Atlanta squad that notoriously gives it up to pass-catching backs. Atlanta has just been getting gashed by the run. Plain and simple. Every offensive player on Minnesota is playable this week, okay? And it will come down to you playing the right ones. I highly encourage you to not try to get off of Madison to get cute or get off of Thielen to get cute, okay? Honestly, because both of these guys are just obvious, solid chalk. Sometimes, yes, players can be chalk. Like Madison and Thielen, most likely they're going to be chalk, but they are good chalk, if you understand what I'm saying. They're the type of chalk that you just take your chance, you just take and, accept the fact that they're going to smash, and you don't want to try to, like, if you're playing multiple GPPs, yeah, you'll have lineups without these guys, okay? But if you're playing a low amount of lineups like me, I like to play one lineup, two lineups. Y'all know me. Like, I'll play one lineup most weekends. I'll play what's put at Greenlight DFS. So I don't max enter. Sharks are going to have versions where they have no Minnesota, probably stacking Atlanta on the other side instead because they know Minnesota's popular. All right, that's what they're going to do. Me, I play one lineup, and the obvious way to go, all the numbers back it, is stacking Minnesota. So I'm definitely going to have some Minnesota exposure. Some other guys I want to talk about. Obviously, Mike Davis is a PPR monster this year, and he's always going to have that solid floor. On DraftKings, he has an amazing, solid floor at 7K. Mike Davis is always in play. I absolutely love him. Derrick Henry, I talked about Derrick Henry. David Montgomery, we put in the first look lineup. I love him for sure. I absolutely love David Montgomery at 5'8", going against Carolina. This is just a beautiful situation here. They don't give him the ball a ton. He's not one of these 20-plus carry guys, but he did get 6 targets week 4 and then 8 targets week 5. He's obviously getting targeted in the pass game. This is a beautiful situation against a team that struggles against pass-catching backs and just backs, period. They've given up almost 30 in every game except one, and the one that they didn't was Kenyon Drake, week 4. Outside of that, they gave up 28 to Todd Gurley, 31 to Eckler, 30 to Fournette, 35 to Jacobs. It's just, come on, man. I mean, how many 30s do you give up? And I'm expecting another one. All right, plain and simple. Let's go talk about Gaskin again. We had him in the first look lineup, I believe. We did. It's a solid matchup, plain and simple, against the Jets, man. They've been getting gashed against the run, I believe, giving up like over 4.5 yards per rush. Gaskin is a solid option here in this one. He gets targeted in the pass game. He averages 5+ targets per game in the pass game, and normally he'll catch almost every target. He's only missed 2 of his targets out of the whole entire season. He's had like over 20 targets, so he's a good receiving back. Gaskin is definitely an option as well. Who else did I want to talk about? Let's talk about James Robinson. James Robinson is a guy that Jacksonville obviously wants to give the ball a solid amount of times, period, whether they throw it to him or hand it to him. I mean, the problem is he doesn't get over 20 carries, but he does get passes in the pass game once again. So James Robinson in a plus matchup against Detroit, who has struggled versus backs. This is a Detroit defense that gave up almost 50 to Aaron Jones week 2. Don't forget that. Is James Robinson Aaron Jones? No. But this is a solid situation here for him. And if you're going to go with a Detroit stack, like going Stafford with Galladay, who I love, by the way, because Jacksonville's secondary is horrible. Let me reiterate that. Running it back with some James Robinson is completely fine. Or taking advantage of the fact DJ Chark might miss, going with some of these other guys like Keelan Cole and stuff for Jacksonville, or Chenault to run back Detroit is definitely a very awesome GPP option as well. Let's talk about Gurley, the shining star last weekend, man. He came through for my Falcons. Nothing has been positive for my Falcons this year, but Gurley has been doing fairly well the last 3 weeks straight. He's been very, very solid, man. He's been doing a great job. He hasn't been getting a ton. He's still not getting 20-plus carries a game, but he's definitely getting his yards per carry. He's been solid. Going against Minnesota, they're bad. They gave up 30 to Derrick Henry, 22 to Jonathan Taylor, 19 to Chris Carson. The only problem is Todd Gurley doesn't get a ton of runs, so he really has to do the most with the carries that he does get. So he doesn't feel super, super safe, but Todd Gurley is fine. I'm okay with him. Who else that I want to mention this week at running back? We talked about Mike Davis as a very solid option. Let's talk about Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones is 6K. It's a good situation here. The problem is Fournette is kind of working his way back. So I'm not going to have a ton of exposure, but I wanted to mention him against Green Bay because Green Bay has had their moments. They gave up over 47 to Alvin Kamara, gave up over 21 to Dalvin Cook, 19 to Gurley, which isn't bad. Giving up 21 to Dalvin Cook isn't bad at all, but yeah. I think that Ronald Jones won't be on my radar too much, but I could see him possibly having success for some people. All right. Outside of that, nobody really sticks out to me that much, honestly. Like, the main guys that I have exposure to is Derrick Henry, Madison, obviously, Myles Gaskin, and David Montgomery as value, and then Mike Davis, obviously, in PPR. All right, let's talk wide receiver. First and foremost, Adam Thielen. My boy Thielen. I got a Thielen. This dude is going to smash this week. That was corny. Anyway, 7-3. Adam Thielen against Atlanta. I'm not going to explain this much and waste y'all's time. You get why I love him. I put him in the first look lineup. Don't have to waste much time with that. Now, Obviously, the ideal way to go this week is to get exposure to Minnesota. What does that mean? You want to find which Atlanta you want, especially with Julio leaning towards not playing. You want to figure out which Atlanta guy you want. Now, obviously, Ridley is going to shine in situations with Julio out. Okay, he got 10 targets. He's going to average over 10 targets in games without Julio Jones. Now he's going against a Minnesota squad, probably facing up against Mike Hughes, who just gave up almost 28 to DK Metcalf last week. All right. So Calvin Ridley's in a solid option. Problem is he's 7'8", okay? And you're having to pay for Minnesota guys. All right, so can you go the 7'8"? Probably not. The main way to go, and I hate to do this, Russell Gage at 4'8", and Zacharias, or however you say his name, Zacchaeus at 3'2". Now, Zacchaeus at 3'2" is probably locked. I'm going to fix this. That is wrong at 3.73. With Julio doubt, I haven't adjusted it. With Julio most likely missing, but keep an eye on that, obviously. But with Julio most likely missing, the Zacchaeus guy at 3-2 might be locked this week. I know he busted for a lot of people last week, but once again, this is a very solid situation here. And also, Gage has struggled the last few times with Julio out or banged up. I'm expecting Gage to have a blow-up game here coming up, and I would not be surprised to see it here when everybody is off of him the way he's been playing. So in GPPs, instead of going Zacchaeus as the value, go Gage and hope that Zacchaeus busts and Gage is the one to go nuts. All right? Because Zacchaeus, or however you say his name, is probably going to be chalky. All right? Now, who else we want to talk about? I want to talk about Jamison Crowder. Especially if you're going like Fitzpatrick, Devontae Parker stack. To run it back, Jamison Crowder's in a fantastic option. Now with Le'Veon Bell out, obviously, Crowder is the go-to guy. 20 and 28 the last 2 weeks. The dude just gets targeted heavily and pretty much hauls all of his targets in. The Miami has done an okay job against wide receiver ones, holding Samuel to 4.2, Lockett to 5.9, held Conley in check. Stephon Diggs went off for 32. Jamison Crowder's probably going to go for over 20. All right, so I wouldn't put much merit in how they've done against Lockett and stuff like that. I do think that Crowder's going to have a fantastic game, and at 6'1", he seems pretty cheap. All right. A.J. Brown. Let's talk about A.J. Brown, who just came up and dominated on Thursday Night Football. Pay attention to him. He's got a questionable tag. It looks like he sat out practice on this last one. It looks like they probably just a management thing, probably just resting him for this next game. A.J. Brown's such a big body receiver. I don't see how Bradley Roby, who's most likely going to be defending him, is going to be able to hang with him. Roby is much smaller than A.J. Brown. It's going to be one of those situations where A.J. Brown is just going to eat here. At 5'6", I love him. If you go Derrick Henry, I don't think you need to go. If you're going the Derrick Henry route and predicting more of a run style game, I don't think you need to go A.J. Brown because that doesn't really correlate too well unless they both just go off. But yeah, A.J. Brown is a solid option. If you end up going, so here's pretty much it. If you decide that you want to go with Tannehill, then don't go Henry and pair Tannehill up with A.J. Brown. If you don't go Tannehill, go Derrick Henry and just leave A.J. Brown out most likely. Okay? Let's talk about Shenault, because if Chalk misses, Chark. If Chalk misses the game, Chenault's going to be fantastic at 5'2". Okay? This dude will get targets in this past game. He got 8 targets last week. If Shenault misses, it's going to be a solid ops situation here. This is a Detroit defense. Trufant has not been great. He gave up over 20 to Isabella. Okay? That's Isabella, Andy Isabella. So I love Shenault. I think he's a very solid option as well. We talked about Kenny Golladay. If you go Stafford, you got to go Kenny Golladay. And I'm telling you, my gut, man, I'm going to be honest with you. My gut is all over Detroit's passing game this week, okay? Now, I did the simulations. You guys know I've been playing around with simulations and simulating games over 5,000 times or so to kind of see what the outcomes the normal outcome is. On average, Golladay was averaging over 100 yards and a touchdown in those simulations. So Marvin Jones did not do near as well. It was mainly Golladay. Golladay was the guy in simulations, and I would not be surprised to see him go off this week, okay? Because the matchup is there, obviously. I mean, Jacksonville is bad, okay? Plain and simple. You've got a good game going down between Green Bay and Tampa Bay. Obviously, the main go-to on Green Bay is going to be Devontae Adams. He is 8,000, hasn't played since week 2. I'm not going to have much of him at all, but this game could end up being a good game and a lot of back and forth going on. Terry McLaurin. I want to talk about Terry McLaurin because he's obviously all of the offense that Washington has. He did only get 7 targets last week, so that's disturbing. But this is a solid matchup against the Giants at only 5'7". He should be a solid option. Now, pay attention to Deontay Johnson. I'm not 100% what's going on with him yet, if he's going to play or what. You kind of want to watch how Friday's practice ended up going. I'm recording this Friday morning. So, Chase Claypool. Obviously, they jumped his price up to 5'2". Okay, but this is a solid situation here, man. All right, solid situation. If he gets 10 plus targets again at 5'2", I love the dude. Okay, so pretty much I'm going to have a ton of Claypool if Deontay Johnson is out. If Deontay plays, I'm probably not going to chase the points from last week and go Claypool, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him have another solid game. Who else do I want to mention? I want to talk about Fulgham. Because he's only 4'4". It's a solid situation for him here. Once again, he should get a solid opportunity. He got 13 targets last week against Pittsburgh. 13. All right, now, the best part about this is they're going to be behind against Baltimore, and Philly is going to have to throw a ton in this game. So Fulgham playing catch-up, I could see him having a solid game. All right, let's move over to tight ends. We've been going for over 20 minutes. I'm going to try to get you through these. At tight end, I mean, the matchup for Tennessee is there. I like Jonnu Smith once again. The problem is if you're going with the pass game, if you go with like we've talked about multiple times, if you decide to go Tannehill, pair him up with A.J. Brown, and it's completely fine with pairing him with Jonnu as well, and just stack Tennessee. Because Houston has been bad, and this game could be a shootout. But keep in mind, they did just play on Thursday. Okay, so that's kind of what has me feeling like I would expect them to run a little more after just playing on Thursday. But Derrick Henry did just get 20 carries on Thursday too, so maybe they don't want to run him a much. Maybe Derrick Henry gets kind of limited touches and they use a lot more of the backup guys. But at the end of the day, I'm expecting more of a run game. That's what my gut's saying. So the main tight end, the top tight end of the week, I really want to talk about Irv Smith. That's who I really want to talk about because at 2.5, I mean, the possibilities are endless here. Amazing matchup against Atlanta. It's just a beautiful, beautiful situation. Irv Smith was getting used as a receiver last week. All right? Amazing spot for him. He's only 2.5. He's free. He is free. If he catches a touchdown, you're looking good this week. So Irv Smith at 2.5, my favorite value tight end of the week. Most of the time, I do save at tight end. Most of the time, tight end and defense, I don't try to spend too crazy on. So Irv Smith being in the position that he's in at 2.5 is definitely a solid option, and he's a guy that I'll definitely have exposure to. I mean, he's looking like the number 3 option in the pass game behind Jefferson and Thielen. You know what I mean? And now going against Atlanta, like, come on, man. Irv Smith free at 2.5, lining up like a receiver. I love Irv Smith, man. 2.5, and he is my favorite tight end to pay for in general, just kind of save money there. Outside of that, obviously, you have the normal Mark Andrews. You got Logan Thomas. Those guys are going to be solid. So, yeah, I mean, whatever you want to do for tight end is fine. I prefer going, like I said, my favorite is saving down, so Irv Smith is my go-to. At defense, I've already talked about it. Don't need to talk about it much, but the New England Patriots, I love the Patriots this week. The New England Patriots, I love them this week. They're in a fantastic spot. They're a defense that I definitely want to get some exposure to against Denver. I mean, look, Melvin Gordon just got a DUI. Okay, Denver already is struggling to have offensive targets in general. The Patriots are at home. I believe they're getting Cam Newton back. I believe Cam Newton is back this week. So, yeah, it's going to be dangerous. The Patriots should get up. Denver should make a ton of mistakes catching up. I'm not going to talk about anybody else. But, yes, the Colts, the Dolphins, these guys, you can use these guys. But Patriots are the defense, and they're the team that I'm going to have the most exposure to. I love them. It just seems obvious and beautiful, and we know the type of upside that the Patriots defense can drop on you. All right? And that's it. GreenlightDFS.com. Join the squad. Thank you guys for joining me as always. Hopefully I touched on all the players that you're interested in this week. Good luck, man. I hope you guys win a milli. Yeah, and hit me up on Twitter with any questions at Cam_ATL. Drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel, and I'm out. Good luck.